What has left to finish up with the authentication is to make sure that indeed a user is logged in from the client side. Even though at the back end we can see that indeed a user is logged in by hitting this particular endpoint. But on the front end, how are we going to determine if a user is logged in? So it means that we are going to hit this particular endpoint anytime you want to check if a user is logged in. Therefore, we need to find a way to manage that state. This is where Redux comes in, because managing authentication is global, meaning that we want every part of our application to know that indeed a user is logged in. This is where global state management comes in, and we have other options, either to use Context API or other state management library, but for us, we are going to use Redux. Let me show you how Redux is going to work with React Query for global state management. And for this, we are going to use what is called RTK. This one offers a set of tools to streamline Redux development. So what is Redux? Redux is a state management library for JavaScript applications. It helps us to manage the state of our application, and the state is simply data or information that our application needs to function, like user info, application settings, and others. So what is RTK? Like I said, that RTK is an official toolset for Redux for effective development. Let's see how Redux is going to work with React Query. And for this diagram, we have already spoke about it, but let's try to revisit. The purpose for React Query is to manage server state and to make asynchronous requests. So at this point, we don't need Redux. But for user authentication, since that data is going to be global, unless we keep the login user inside our store, this is where Redux comes in. So all the requests to our server will be done by React Query. And after we got the data, then we are going to save that data into our store. So if you check at the API here, which is this, React Query is going to make this request. And as soon as we got the response, we are going to take this data and give it to Redux to save it in our store. So let's see how Redux works in a nutshell. We have these terms: dispatch actions, actions, store, reducers, middleware, async calls, state, and selectors. And for this one, we are going to use the minimal part of it. But in case you want to master Redux and Redux Toolkit, I have a course on that. Let me show you how Redux is going to work. For Redux, we can use it to make asynchronous requests like React Query. This is what we call async logic or async calls. But for this, we are going to ignore this one by using React Query. But in case we are using Redux, unless we manage loading, error, success, and caching by ourselves. And React Query takes care of these ones for us. So here we don't care about these ones. So let's say that this is our React component. And we call something dispatch actions, which means that calling a function. And this function is called the actions. So as soon as an action is being dispatched, it's going to update the state in our store. And to be able to update, we call something reducers. The reducer is going to take the action and then the current state and then make changes to our state in our store. That's all what we are going to do. Alright, with this one being said, in the next video, we are going to configure our application to use Redux Toolkit. In that way, you better understand the flow.